Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Time to Shine. My name is Adrian. I'm also known as Northern Star on Twitter, and I am not joined alone. I have my fearless co-host Mike here with me.
Hello everybody, it's Mike, also known as the Buried Truck on Twitter, and we're back for a couple real special episodes today, my friend.
They are real special, and it's fun because, you know, going back and watching them, you know, you know what you're kind of in for, but you never know what it's exactly going to be like, and these really brought me a lot of joy rewatching.
Mm-hmm. Me too. I agree. These are one of these in particular. I always really looked forward to, you know, pulling up on the YouTube and giving it a watch. On
the YouTube. Which one will it be? You'll have to wait and find out.
The mystery grows.
It does. It does. So today we are covering two more lovely episodes from season 1 to make our way through. So we're covering episode 9 and 10. So let's turn our attention to episode 9, which is Two Old Hands, and this is one of my favorites. So I'm just gonna kind of put that out there, right off the get-go. This is a very special one to me. I don't know about you, Mike, but
yeah, spoiler alert, this is the one I was just talking about.
This is the one, yeah, I knew.
The mystery does not grow any further. The mystery has been solved literally 5 seconds later.
But you had people like on the edge of their seats for that, like, you know, 1.5 minutes. They're like, which one is it?
What could it be?
Yes, this one is just so lovely and heartwarming and very, very heartfelt.
Mail call! Anything for me? Anything for me?
Anything for me?
All right, just a second, kids. Let's see. Tanya? Me? Oh, Matt? Look! My pen pal sent me a picture! Oh, isn't mail wonderful? You put a letter in a mailbox and someone gives it to your friend 1,000 miles away.
Got any mail for me there, Stacy?
Oh, my. Oh, dear. Time for me to disappear.
So, for those of you, again, if you haven't seen these episodes, please go give them a quick watch before, but I'll give you guys a little summary for you of this episode. So basically it starts out at the station as it usually does, and the gang, which is Stacy, Matt, and Tanya, realize that it's Harry's birthday, but that he doesn't know that they know, so they all decide to throw him a surprise party. And Schemer gets involved in this as well as the episode progresses. And then Stacy, one thing she does to keep Harry kind of off the trail is she keeps him busy with odd jobs around the station, which involves him kind of getting grumpier and grumpier. Oh, you're finding things for me to do. Oh, and it just it ups the ante of the surprise because he's so grumpy. Until they all finally surprise him, much to his joy, and give him what he says is one of the best birthday parties he's ever had. And then we, of course, have Mr. C, and he finally confronts his shyness about meeting Harry, and he tries a couple times earlier in the episode to meet him, but in the end disappears, just can't stand it. And then at the end, after the party, he takes a moment to pluck up his courage, and he finally introduces himself properly to Harry in the workshop, and then they're soon kind of lost and talking about trains, and episode fades out.
They were hailstones as big as basketballs. I said, no, possibly baseballs, but not basketballs. But he swore to it. They were the biggest hailstones he'd ever seen.
Yeah. So, Mike, can I ask you, what are some of your initial impressions of this episode?
Well, based on our previous episode discussions, it should kind of go without saying, but I am a big fan of Harry's character. This episode, just in particular, it's one of the highlights of his character for sure. I really love that, like, they're kind of pushing his grumpiness.
Really? They really did?
Yeah, they, like, you just see it building and building throughout the episode. It reaches its peak, and then they all yell surprise, and you just see it instantly dissipate, and he's just so taken aback by it all. Mm-hmm. I think it's such a very touching moment.
Oh, Harry, could you come out here for a second, please?
Now what? Can a man work in peace?
Well, someone wants to tell you something.
Well, what is it?
Happy birthday!
Well, sir, this is mighty nice. Yes. I guess maybe I was a little bit irritable today, but it's always good to know there are folks who care about you. So thank you.
It is. It's very genuine, and I think props to Leonard Jackson. He really sells it. Really, in that moment, you can just see the shock, the total shock in his face, and he's so moved. And every time, like ever since I was a kid, every time I watch that part, I always tear up. I can't not.
I know, he's such a phenomenal actor. He sells it so well.
He really does. And also, side note, I was going to say, Mike, I think you have like the spirit of an old railway engineer in you. Given your love of like Billy and Harry, you've just got that like. I feel like you've got that living inside you.
That is true. I am quite taken with the engineers. I mean, when I was a kid watching the show, obviously, you know, I was like, oh man, I want to be an engineer like Billy Two Feathers. So, you know, that never really leaves you.
And you still could be.
I still could be. It's never too late to make your dreams happen, kids.
I wish there was like you know how they did that version on MTV of where they had like people go and make music videos for like famous people. It'd be cool if they had like a version of that. Becoming, but you would be like shadowing a train engineer, and we would just follow you around.
Welcome back to Becoming Railroad Edition.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be a hit. I swear to God.
Today we're on the Indian Valley driving the Rainbow Sun.
Oh my God, you sound so cool.
I know.
Anyway, sorry for distracting you. You were saying about the emotional moment.
Yeah, that deep emotional moment with Harry. Yeah, and I love that there's so many little things that happen in addition to Harry in this episode that just really sell it. Obviously, Schemer's involvement, like usually the antagonist, we see sort of a softer side of him. We see that, you know, he's never been to a surprise party before, and he kind of, you know, skirts around directly asking it, but Stacy finally goes, do you want to come to the surprise party, Schemer? And he's instantly like, yeah, of course I do.
I know, she makes the kids ask, and they're looking around like, la, 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 la. And then she's like, kids. And she has to give Tanya a little tap. Would you like to go to the surprise party? I love that, because he's playing all sort of, he's like guilty and, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's so nice. And then just to, you know, to see him, especially after Harry kind of, you know, chews him out over a misunderstanding. It's nice to see that, you know, he's not like, well, I don't want to go to a surprise party. He's just like, oh boy, a surprise party. Can I be part of it? Like, yeah, it shows that, you know, Schemer maybe isn't as malicious as he makes himself seem. But,
and I appreciate they didn't just make him one-dimensional either. Like that he had moments where he wanted to join in on the fun, and that he even, you know, got Harry a few nickels as a gift. I mean, that for Schemer is...
That's a big deal.
Coins of the realm, moolah.
Some more classic Brian one-liners about money.
Oh, that's actually one of my favorites. The money.
Coins of the realm, moolah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good.
Coins of the realm, moolah. You want Schemer to give Harry money?
But yeah, I mean, to your point as well, like you say, it's good that they didn't make Schemer one-dimensional. I don't really think they made any of these characters one-dimensional, which is a real sign of like good writing, especially when it comes to Mr. C, who in this episode is, I think this is such a good use of Mr. C because, you know, earlier in the series, we've had the episode, of course, about you know, Matt and Tanya, the kids confronting their fears. And that's always a good thing for like other kids to see, obviously, is you know, if you see someone else your age or smaller, you know, being brave and standing up to their fears, you know, that's inspiring to you. But it's another thing to see a quote unquote adult character doing the same thing. And I really like that they show, Mr. C tries multiple times to show himself to Harry, but he's nervous. He messes it up a few times. And finally, he grows courageous enough and comfortable enough to give it a try, and it pays off in the end. And that's just such a... to have the kids do it is one thing, but to have the grown-up characters do it as well is also... any other show probably would have had the adults just be completely untouchable.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I actually think the initial idea they had of making Mr. Conductor shy was a great character trait. It just made him more accessible to kids, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Humanized him. And it's funny because they didn't really continue that on. They had George's Mr. C shy in the Halloween episode, but I think they kind of faded that out. But actually, I really like that side of Ringo's Mr. C, because he plays it really well, and it's sweet. There's something really sweet about it. His little rhyming couplet. He's like, "Come on, there you go. Never hurts to say hello. Hi, Harry." Like, it's a rhyming couplet his way into it. And then he's still sort of like, I love when he does a little, like he just can't stand it and disappears.
Covers his face. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's the thing. We'll see many times in, series 2 and 3 where George's Mr. Conductor has moments of being very bold and isn't as concerned with hiding himself per se. But Ringo's Mr. C definitely is the shyer and, the more withdrawn of the two, for lack of a better word. He really only wants to show himself to, at first, Stacy and the kids, and then, of course, after this episode, he'll hang around with Harry more often, too.
Along that same line of accessibility to kids, I really liked how this episode taught kids the importance of celebrating others and surprising them. I thought it was sweet that we get to see it through the kids' eyes, and like when Stacy initially tells the surprise party idea, and they're like, "Oh, let's go tell him right now." And she has to explain, no, the whole point of a surprise party is, they don't know about it until the party begins, and then, they're thinking about presents of what to get him, and they want to get him like a jump rope and a baseball bat, and Stacy has to sort of like redirect them. So it's really great to see how kids would dive into that from a kid's perspective, and then Stacy's like, just little tweaks here and there.
Yeah, it's a good little, it's a nice little touch that Stacy like lets the kids have their own ideas about it first. Like, they think they should go tell him right away, or they think that things that they would want, he would want. And she doesn't stop them from thinking those things. She just says, well, it might be good for you, but what about Harry? Because this is about him. So I think that's a nice touch as well. Instead of just, I can imagine if another show did this, they would very easily have it so that Stacy just outright tells the kids and they don't have a chance to kind of learn that little lesson. It is a small one, but I mean, it's still an important thing to make sure that you're thinking about the person that it's for rather than yourself.
For sure. And also I like how she adds, anyone can buy a present, but making them something is really special, which I know people might find a bit saccharine, but I actually find that really important because a lot of kids don't have a lot of money. True. And so, but they have most of them have like paper, some kind of like pens, crayons, whatever. And how much that's going to be treasured as the receiver, especially as somebody who's, I've received some of my like colleagues' kids have drawn me pictures, and one drew me a few balloons for my birthday, sent them in with her to the office, and I was like, oh God, you love them, and they sat on my desk for a really long time.
That's adorable.
Yeah. So I like that part of it too. Any other kind of standout things for you with this initial thoughts, memories?
I like that. I mean, again, this is sort of a byproduct of the way that they were going through the Thomas stories, but it's interesting that I think this might be the only Shining Time Station episode where the first story that we hear is sort of a cliffhanger, because it's the end of the big engines going on strike and Percy coming to the railway. So it's interesting that it kind of starts off with that, and Mr. C even kind of references that. He goes, well, it's a relief that's over, as if like, it's sort of carrying on from the last episode, which I like the continuity they had going.
Yeah. Oh, that's true, right? Because the last episode was the striking episodes?
Yeah, the last one would have been Whistle While You Work, which had the first two stories of what
Right,
they adapted from
right.
Troublesome Engines. Yeah.
That's a really good point. Yeah, that's a really good point. I also just, I love the emotionality of this episode. I really love when Harry gets the whole bag of birthday cards.
Oh, yes.
After they reveal the surprise, that really, I just love that so much.
Doesn't your heart break in the beginning when everyone else is getting mail and he comes out?
He doesn't get anything.
Says, oh, didn't think I'd have anything.
I know.
Harry.
He seems so crestfallen. He's like, just thought there might have been. Thank you.
Oh.
And they're like, oh, I just remembered it's Grandpa's birthday.
Oh my gosh. Destroys me every time.
It's pretty sad. It would be sad. I love too that in that like moment later in the day, it's just like all for him. I'm like, yes, it's all for you,
so
Harry.
Sweet. So sweet.
It's interesting. I also thought that the Cheese Giggles subplot with Schemer was a good way to get Schemer involved in the plot of the episode. The whole sort of, get Cheese Giggles from the storeroom and then mix up with the Cheese Giggle boxes and the box of birthday presents. And it also kind of solidifies Cheese Giggles as one of the staples, I think, of Schemer's Arcade.
It does, and you know what? I don't think outside this episode do we ever hear him mention the potato boom booms and corn whammies ever again.
Never. But
No.
I that stuck out to me because they sound exciting. I want a potato boom boom.
Right? Doesn't sound good.
Oh man,
That always,
it's the
again,
only time.
like this is the episode or the season, I should say, that like I really didn't see when I was a kid. So I came into this in like the adult life, and of course in the later seasons, you remember the references to Cheese Giggles, and those are mentioned quite a bit. So when I first saw this episode and he mentioned those other ones, I was like, wait, there's more than Cheese Giggles?
So much more. It's too bad they didn't. I would have liked to have seen them make, bags for those too.
That would have been super cool.
Because I like the original logo too that you see on the box of like the laughing chunk of cheese.
Yeah.
Also, I love the ending to this episode.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's so the nostalgia and, two railroaders reminiscing about, the president's train and the footage and then, the fade out of Harry telling the story over the mural. It's just sumptuous.
I love how excited Harry sounds when it's doing the pan out across the mural and he's telling the next story to Mr. C. Like, it just drives home, like, all he really needed was someone else who understood and loved railroads the way that he did. And now he's just like an open book, and he's gone from being this total curmudgeon to almost being like a giddy child about it.
Yes. I love when he's like, oh, baseballs, not basketballs. That's always like burned in my mind because I remembered that because it cut off where my grandma recorded the episodes. It sometimes cut off like a few seconds before the episode actually ended.
Yeah.
And so it cut off right after he says that line. And so it's always ingrained in my mind.
Oh,
but I
man.
always loved that ending. Because it's like the kids and Stacy sneak out,
Yeah. To let them
knowing
have
that
their
it's
moment.
going well. Yeah, like they're listening at the door and then they're like, oh, it's really, it's excellent.
It's such
Most
a sweet
excellent.
way to end the episode. I really like that they chose to end it on that note and not have the meeting sort of interrupted,
And it too, just reflecting, like, I think as Shining Time progressed, they still had, of course, railroad components and stuff, but I remember season 1 being steeped in that
Yes.
kind of Americana railroader feeling, and I really appreciate that. I think that's why I like season 1 so much, and I think it's why sometimes I prefer that to some of the more, the crazier episodes like Schemer's Robot, where it's just it's a little bit more gimmicky, because I think that's where I connect with it, is those stories and the railroad and the kind of romance of that. And because Harry sells it very well, very, very well. Even the song, just moving into that, like A Railroader for Me.
Oh yeah.
I love his love for that song. And he's even his workshop polishing something and like bopping his head.
I know, I love that little moment.
It's
so
great.
good.
And I like that song quite a bit.
too.
Yeah, it's a good one. I think as a kid, I remember fast forwarding it because I remember Dee Dee's head moving really fast.
Yeah.
As she was like going around. But now that I'm older, very different appreciation.
A railroader for me. If ever I marry in this wide world, a railroader's bride I'll be. I would not marry a farmer. He's always in the dirt. I'd rather marry an engineer that wears a striped shirt.
Yeah, I like this song a lot. I think this might be... I'm trying to think where I rank some of these songs, because, you know, remembering everything that they did in Series 1, which again, Series 1 definitely is the most, much like with the interactions with Harry and sort of what he talks about, I think in Season 1, the jukebox is basically only railroad themed songs, which is great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love this one. I think this might actually be my favorite of the Season 1 jukebox songs. Because I love the sort of calm vibe, and it's not very common that you hear Dee Dee go solo on these songs in the first series. So It's a nice little treat, and like you said, it's just so fun to see the little montage of, you know, Harry sitting in his office and doing his railroad work, hearing a song about railroad men, and just he looks so happy. And then it's just, you know, it's great when it ends and he goes, "Stacy, can we hear that one again?" I'm like, yeah, I want to hear that one again too.
I know. Oh, it's great. And shout out to the singer who did Dee Dee's singing voice. I think there were one or two, but they did a great job, I think, of matching sort of how Dee Dee's speaking voice sounds with a different singer.
Yeah, you know what? If you hadn't said that there was a different singer, I would have thought that it was Olga who was doing it.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think Olga's a singer. And yeah, I think as a kid I assumed it was her, maybe. Although I noticed that I was like, whoa, that's quite a voice. But yeah, no, they got other people to do. I think the only folks that did their... Well, I know obviously Grace Venice Thomas did the singing throughout the whole series, but she only voiced Grace in the first series. And then we had Jonathan Freeman do the singing voice for Tito.
Of course.
And was that it?
Yes, because Rory Dodd would have been Rex and
with
Tex.
the boy brothers, yeah, and then somebody else for Dee Dee, yeah. So interesting.
Huh. Yeah, well, like you said, it's a great... The singing voice matches the speaking voice really well. Like the fact that I did think it was Olga who was singing, I think that speaks to it.
It's kind of sweet. Even if you did, we're like, Olga, you did a great job. Speaking of songs, what do you think of Baking a Cake?
Oh, can we talk about certified classics like Baking a Cake? Oh my god, this song is such a little bop.
You'll need some flour, sugar and eggs too, and some baking powder, a stick of butter. Ooh, you can cook everything from soup to a steak, but don't be mistaken, 'cause there's nothing like baking a cake. Baking a cake, baking a cake, baking a cake, baking a cake.
It's so good.
And it's about baking a cake.
And they made it like kind of doo-wop style.
Yeah, it's
with
very
a little
doo-wop.
like the spoons that are like baking a cake.
Oh,
I just love
the spoons with their little bow ties.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
It is most excellent. I really, they did a great job from the sort of stop motion flying saucer bit to the backup singer spoons and Rory Dodd. I think Rory Dodd and Steve Horlick sang on this track. But they really put a lot into the production of it. Yeah, like when you hear the... So yeah, this is just a little side plug, but these season 1 songs are all now out on Silbert Records. My friend Joseph has been remastering them along with Steve Horlick, and the first batch of all the season 1 ones are out. So you can listen to Baking a Cake in beautiful HD now.
Available where all fine music is sold.
Exactly. It's on all music and streaming platforms, so go and check it out.
Happy birthday to you.
The song was written by Steve Horlick and sung by Rory Dodd and Eric Troyer.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, Eric. Good job, Eric.
Here we go. Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I feel like any of the songs that are set to these stop motion videos in season 1, they're always good songs. They're always bangers.
They are. They absolutely are. Okay, I've got the title here. So Shining Time Station, the Jukebox Puppet Band and Animated Sing-Songs from Season 1. Songs produced by Steve Horlick. Musical arrangements by Larry Wolf. Vocal arrangements by Steve Horlick. And a lot of different artists kind of laying down tracks there, but it's really lovely. And this song, a standout classic, an instant classic. When you're, like, if you're going to bake a cake, put this on. It tells you what you need. Chocolate or vanilla, any flavor will do. I love when they say, mix it all together. Now it's a bowl of goo. Like, it's so fun. Man.
My mother always said when you're baking, you have to be happy. And if this song does not make you happy when you are baking a cake, I don't know what to tell you. I really don't.
Yeah. Yeah, you might be beyond help if this won't cheer you up.
Yeah.
And then... It's great because at the end you get Mr. C magicking up the cake, which as a kid I was always like, oh cool. Because cake is great, and then magical cake.
And you know what? And again, it just throws into question, what exactly are the limits of Mr. C's powers? Because he says he can't, punch his way through a piece of paper that Schemer will have put over his signal house, but he can whip up a cake in 0 seconds flat, which is impossible, and I would love to have that skill myself, but I don't. Yeah.
Well, funny, because he says, they're like, let's time to party, and he's like, yeah, and I gotta go do the dishes. So, did he bake the cake before in his signal house, and is he just using his magic sparkle dust to, not to overthink it, to transport it out of the house and onto the bench there? And if that's the case, he made this an adult-sized cake. So how the heck did he have enough room in his kitchen?
Oh my gosh, yeah. How is that not spilling out of the signal house?
It would be a cake everywhere. So there are some questions here that frankly need answers.
Yeah, I'm perplexed. I'm going to call up the writers of this episode, Rick Sigelkow himself, get him on the horn, ask him to explain to me what exactly is going on here.
It's a very puzzling moment, but either way, we accept it and we go with it.
We do,
because it is just thrilling. And just to turn our attentions to the Thomas episodes, what are your thoughts on them? Percy runs away, Thomas comes to breakfast.
Oh, my friend, do I have some thoughts on these? They're
so good.
You know what? I didn't prepare you for this, but I have a little bit of a rant to go on here. So,
rant away.
Let's rant here. So, up to this point, we have had all the Thomas stories in proper sequence order as they were aired throughout the UK back in the earlier 80s. Now, for those who don't know, obviously when the episodes were done for Shining Time Station, Ringo Starr had to go back and redub parts of it. So, whether it was lines that had been edited or changed around, updating things like trucks to freight cars and Sir Topham Hatt, or the Fat Controller to Sir Topham Hatt, things like that. Now, we'll see throughout season 1, there's a random assortment of series 2 episodes. I think maybe like just under half of that season he did redubs for. My bone of contention is that of all the Series 1 episodes, all 26, how many Ringo US redubs did we get? We got 25. We were one short of a full US Ringo Series 1. And you know what stings the most is that the one we did not get is my favorite Series 1 episode. That is Whistles and Sneezes. There is no US Ringo Whistles and Sneezes.
I choose you.
And I blame that entirely on Thomas Comes to Breakfast, which they had pushed into this episode. Because, here's the thing. It makes no sense that they did Thomas Comes to Breakfast, because we've just had Percy Runs Away, which, by the way, is a phenomenal episode. I love that it's a good little extended introduction to Percy. There's so many classic bits of, you know, him running up the hill in fright. The whole scene of Gordon coming towards him. You think they're going to crash. And it's so suspenseful. Also, weird little thing when I was a kid, I don't know if you did this too, but those shots of Percy waiting at the signal box, sometimes when it shows the close-up on him, it almost looks like the camera's bouncing a little bit. And I always took that as like, it was like Percy was like giddy with excitement to get back to the station as he was like waiting for the signal to change. And that's all I can see.
I think I know what you mean. Yes.
It's a very subtle bounce, but you can still see it. It's very cute. I like it. And then of course, like, I would reenact Percy backing into the Bank of Earth and being pulled out all the time. But yeah, fantastic episode. But then we end this episode showing that Percy is working at the big station as he's meant to be. And then we jump into Thomas Comes to Breakfast. All of a sudden, Percy is on Thomas's branch line with this strange looking engine called Toby, who we haven't met to this point. And then these two other engines, Donald and Douglas, show up. We don't know who they are. I don't understand why they felt it so important. And especially when you factor in the fact that they didn't really want to include Daisy in Shining Time Station. It seems weird that there was such a push for Thomas Comes to Breakfast being in Series 1, when what they could have easily done is in fact had the first story of the next Shining Time Station episode that we'll see, which is Henry's Special Coal. They could have put that one here, and it would still make sense, because Mr. C would say, you know, oh, I've got a present for Henry. He hasn't been feeling well recently. Let me tell you about it. Launch into that. And then, in Happy Accidents, you've got the Flying Kipper, and then you could do your Whistles and Sneezes, which has accidents in it, you know? So...
Right.
I understand that I am way too invested in this. The show is decades old at this point. But I just think we were so close to having a full 26 episode run of Ringo US narrations for Series 1. It could have been perfect.
I love your passion.
It's one of my many notable qualities.
Oh my gosh. It's interesting. I'd never thought about that.
Yeah, it's just upon rewatching. I mean, it just baffled me to see Thomas Comes to Breakfast being the next episode on here when everything else had been in order up to this point. And I was like, hold on, that's not right.
Do we get a US dub of Whistles and Sneezes on like a Thomas VHS release or no?
We get it. We get George's version of Whistles and Sneezes, but we do not ever get a Ringo version.
That's so weird. So I have no idea why. Yeah.
And like, I don't know if I'm not sure what the behind the scenes process was, whether they had Ringo do like US dubs of all of the Series 1 and 2 episodes and then they just kind of cherry picked what they wanted to use, or if they specifically chose these episodes. I'm assuming they would have specifically chosen these ones because they would have had to do up the Shining Time scripts as well, right?
Yeah, well, originally they had, I think I mentioned a few episodes ago, they had a guide with all the Thomas stories kind of made up with the various themes, and they used that as a jumping off point to write the episodes. But they must have mixed and matched. I know they did that with the songs as well, because I'll look at some of the, as I mentioned to you, I have the original scripts, and so I've looked at some of the scripts, and they switched the songs around too. So I'm not sure if that's just like a writing choice. That's an interesting point. I'm sorry. I apologize on behalf of this show doing you wrong.
Oh, well, you know what? I'll accept that apology. I can move on because you know what? The fact of the matter is, despite the continuity issue, despite being robbed of Ringo US whistles and sneezes, which I don't even think would have been that different. I think they would have had one instance of the Fat Controller being changed to Sir Topham Hatt, and that probably would have been it. All that aside, Thomas Comes to Breakfast is a classic, iconic episode. You really can't get more classic than this one, I wouldn't think. I think this is one of the stories that, much like, the sad story of Henry and Thomas Goes Fishing. It's one of those ones that I think most people remember and know.
Yeah, it's top tier for me. I love Percy Runs Away. It's another favorite. I remember watching the VHS tapes, the really early VHS tapes, like Tenders and Turntables and whatnot, that my grandparents bought for me, and waiting for Percy Runs Away. Percy Comes to Breakfast. That would be interesting. Waiting for Percy Runs Away, because you get the excitement of the chase, good episode structure. You get the denouement at the end. Really nice wrap up with Gordon. And then Thomas Comes to Breakfast. Everything about it. I love the pacing. I love Thomas in his cheeky, kind of cocky way. I love, weirdly, how he gets blamed for the accident, again, by the Fat Controller, even though it's not really his fault. It's the careless cleaner who is meddling with his controls. So, but it's great. And I also, I really like the end, like the whole present theme with Mr. C, and then his little rhyme when he says, even though they ride the rail, trains need drivers without fail. And I was like, part of me is like, take note, hit era on that, because trains, engines need drivers. So, and they need them because, we're still not sure of the whole, where the engines kind of, agency picks up and where the drivers leaves off, but there is a symbiotic connection there, and it is magical and cannot be ignored.
I agree. So, it's funny to think that drivers don't exist in the current iteration of Thomas, and here we are, right back in season 1 of Shining Time, being told how important
it bothers me. Even in Thomas and the Magic Railroad, I rewatched that recently, and I was so annoyed how you don't see any drivers anywhere. It just is so bizarre to me.
I know, it feels very it feels very dystopian in a way.
It really does. They're just all puffing around on their own with no one anywhere, and I'm like, oh, it must be very lonely.
Yeah, I imagine. But it must be especially lonely for Birdie's driver, because he's the only little figurine you see in the movie.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, Birdie's driver's slowly going crazy. He's like, there were people here, and then now they're not. I don't know why.
My friends and family, where have they gone?
Very distressing. If you need to talk, Birdie's driver, we're here.
Yes,
you can call us anytime, day or night.
We know people who can help you. Don't worry.
We do. People right here. Moving on to trivia. So there's some very obvious trivia. Obviously, this is the first time that Harry properly meets Mr. C.
Of course.
Properly. And there are moments, where he sees Mr. C like things and hears stuff before, but then they finally meet. Good build up to that. This is what did I say? It was the 9th episode of the series, so I like that they waited that long. I think, again, the writing in season 1 was excellent. They set the bar high. And we also have... Oh, yeah, somebody mentioned that when they receive their mail at the beginning, Tanya gets a lovely picture with stickers on it from her pen pal. And Matt receives a coloring book, a Sesame Street coloring book called Ernie's Book of Animals.
Does.
So thank you to the person on the wiki who looked that up.
I think... is it this shot of Tanya with the picture that they put in, the original opening?
Correct.
Yes, that's what I was like. It looks familiar, but I can't place it.
She had some cool hairstyles, man, and I like this one.
Yeah, I agree. I completely
sort
agree.
Of like pigtail braids with the yellow, and Nicole can attest to this. She loved her outfits and stuff. And it just, I look at it, I'm like, God, women's style is so much more exciting than men's a lot of the time, or at least it was back then. Because, Matt's always just like in a different colored shirt that's tucked into his pants with a little tiny belt.
Mm-hmm.
But Tanya got to really kind of play around. So sorry, Jason, but
they made Nicole
we're trying to get
PBS fashion icon.
They absolutely did. And Jason, who we're trying to get on the podcast, maybe he can speak to that. Maybe this is a trauma for him. He's a kid. He's like, she got all the colorful outfits, and I just got a blue shirt. Why? Oh, why?
I'll have to ask Jason if he dresses extra flashier these days to make up for all the wardrobe repression from his season 1 of Shining Time for him.
He probably does. He probably totally does. And then we also get more creative ways for Mr. C to start Thomas stories. So he spins the present in his hands to start Thomas Comes to Breakfast, which is quite whimsical, I think.
Yes, yeah. This is I'm trying to remember, because I know we've had him before with he played his spoons to start a story in one of the early episodes. Yes. Well, I was listening to there's one episode that's just about to come out, and he cries, blows his nose to start a Thomas story. Oh, yes,
that one.
That's the other one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah, there's many different ways, or he sips a cup of tea, or, but it's kind of fun, I think. And do you have any trivia for this bad boy?
Well, I think with this one, there's obviously a lot of neat railroad footage that we get here. Harry's recollection of the President's Train, that's footage of number 2101 on the Reading Railroad. That is from a little video called the B&O's 8,000-mile birthday party, for any of our railroad buffs who want to go seek out the original footage there.
It's very pretty footage, I have to say, with the flag blowing on the front. That's what sticks out of my mind.
Beautiful, beautiful footage. They chose some really good clips they chose really good clips for all of Shining Time, I should say. But Series 1, I don't know if it's just the clips themselves or it's the fact that you've got, Harry with his great storyteller voice over top it all. But the railroad clips just give me such chills this season.
Yeah. And I think they had more accuracy, I believe. Like, I think they were going for more railroad history in season 1. I think in 2 and 3 they used more stock footage during the tales and stuff.
For sure.
They do sometimes in season 1, but I do appreciate that they do that here. Because, like you said, it's real footage and it's a real story, and kids can look it up and be like, did this happen? And it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
A version of it.
And we'll see that, of course, with, the John Bull story as well. That's a prime example of
God, I love that one so much.
Of just like actual railroad history, and that's definitely the one that I think would make kids go, did this really happen? Is this a real thing?
Wait, did we already see that one?
Did we see that one? I may be getting confused. I thought that was later, but
what episode is that? Oh yeah, it's Show and Yell. We have already seen it.
Yes, that's right.
Because he's like, the man's coming back to take the puppets. But I love that. Oh, it's delicious.
Yes. Oh, it's so good.
Well, thank you for that. And then just to move into kids' activities. So we get a few in this episode. So the idea of making somebody a present, which we encourage all the kids and kids at heart listening. Please don't forget your talents and try creating something or writing something, or, it I don't know, it really does mean a lot more. And I'll just say, like, I'm at that age, I'm 36 now, and for receiving and giving gifts for a lot of my adult friends, it's a lot of like, you get a card and a birthday, a birth certificate. Wow, that'd be interesting. Here's your birth certificate, I found it.
Can you imagine getting a birth certificate for every birthday? That would be awful.
That'd be wild. And also like a filing nightmare, you have to keep all of them.
Oh my gosh.
A little gift card, which gift cards are lovely, but I kind of like watching this, I'm inspired now to make something. And because we have the kids making, they're coloring up like a picture frame, a picture. Stacy's decorating a mug. They have them in a cheese giggles box. They probably could have colored the box if they had wanted to. and also just encouraging people to surprise other people, surprise them, make them feel celebrated. And that kind of, I think, weaves into the morals of the episode, like really, really making sure that you make the people that you love feel loved, like go out of your way to do that, because I think we assume a lot of the time. And it's so fun to be surprised, and it's so fun to be celebrated, especially as you get older, because birthday parties often, you know, they sometimes have a little less significance, or they change a bit. But yeah, celebrate the people that you love. And also a neat moral, I think, about overcoming shyness, Mr. C, because he faces his fear a bit, and he has a couple slip-ups, which is okay, we all do, but he gets up his courage, and then before you know it, he's lost in Railroad Stories, right? They just are having fun, that they forget that they're shy. So I like that. Any messages that stand out aside from those for you, Mike?
I think to add to that as well, I mean, just the idea of a gift can be such a small thing. And, you know, obviously Harry gets many different types of gifts today. He gets a surprise party from the people who love him. He gets a flurry of birthday cards when the mail train arrives later that afternoon. But I think one of the greatest gifts he gets is when he meets Mr. C, and they realize that they have that common ground, and they have this shared passion of railroads. And, you know, that's not something that can be bought. That's something that you have with a genuine human connection. And, you know, it's just a gift can come in many forms, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical present. It can be a conversation. It can be sharing a memory. You know, it's just, it does a good job at showing all the facets of what a gift or a present to someone can truly be.
Well said. I couldn't say it better myself. And I think we can all probably relate. You remember those times when you were surprised by something joyful. Those things, those will stand out. I'm sure for our listeners, you have memories of surprise parties or surprise events, or when people came somewhere special and you weren't expecting them, or somebody went out of their way to do something really special and organize something. Those
Without
stick with you. So yeah. What would you give this episode, Mike? Out of 10?
You know what? My complaints about the Thomas episode order don't even make a dent on this rating for me. This is a solid 10. I love this episode so much. It's just such a good, heartwarming experience every time. I don't even know how many times I've watched this episode now, but I can tell you that every time I do, it just puts a smile on my face. And I think it's one of the best examples of everything that Shining Time Station has to offer. You've got the comedic, entertaining station life. You get to see all the characters on full display. You know, it's teaching a great moral. It teaches that moral incredibly well. And you get amazing entertainment in not only the Thomas stories, but the jukebox song and the stop motion video through the Anything Tunnel. And of course, you know, we get the classic, you know, Harry talking about railroads bit, which I know we see that a lot, but again, it's part of the whole package here. It's a really well-rounded episode, and I think if I had to show someone an episode of Shining Time Station, if they hadn't seen it before or just wanted to know like what all this show was about, I think I would probably pick this one.
It's a 10 for me too, my friend.
Hey, that's what I was hoping for.
This is the first 10. I think that, is it the first time that both of us have given?
I think it is. It might be the first time that both of us have. I don't know if we've had other ones that we've had the exact same rating for. So it could be the first time
we have once or twice.
Maybe once or twice, but never. We've never given a 10, and we've never both given a 10. So this is a double whammy. It's
a very special. So guys, this is a great episode. I mean, I can't say anything else really that Mike hasn't said already. It's got heart. It's got railroad. It's got good storytelling. It's got laughs. It's got tears. It's got it all. Just watch it.
The whole package.
Watch it again and again. Yes. And if It's a good pick me up too. And honestly, I started watching it halfway through and I felt so good already. It's just, oh, it's done right. And again, it shows how, like a cake, you blend all the right ingredients and you can really get something special. And they did that with this show, and they hit the right note, and they had fun doing it. You can see that in this episode. They're into it. They're having fun. They're having a good time. So that authenticity, yeah. Oof. Anyway, I know we've devoted a lot of time to this episode, but I think it being our 10, our Douglas.
Hey, there we go. Double Douglas, baby.
Double Douglas. It is most excellent. Yes.
Also, absolute chef's kiss for that cake metaphor you made at the end there. Beautiful.
Hi, I'm Mike O'Donnell, one of the composers of the original Thomas the Tank Engine theme, and I'm here to tell you that I have released a selection of re-recorded themes and songs from the classic shows in a series of albums called the Engine Themes. These albums include a variety of classic themes and songs from the original TV series, as well as a few new compositions. You can purchase these albums on CD or digital download, as well as posters and pin badges. Have a look online at modmusic.co.uk. And for a special offer for Right On Track listeners, you can use the special code ROT20 for a 20% discount on all digital downloads. Be sure to enter the code when making your purchase. Thank you for your support and happy listening. Take care and stay safe.
All right, moving right along, we're going to move into episode 10 here, which is Happy Accidents. And my lovely friend Mike is going to give us a summary of this ep.
I shall do my very best. The episode begins. We are in a bit of a topsy-turvy state with the station here, I would say.
Be careful, Matt. There are too many blocks on top. Shh. Let me concentrate.
Hello, Shining Time Station, Harry speaking. The train to Pelican Falls is late? Engine trouble, you say? It will arrive here at 11 a.m. All right, okay. Train is late. I'll have to change the sign.
We start off with Matt and Tanya trying to build a tower, which Matt accidentally knocks down. Harry, meanwhile, is getting a call to alert him that there will be a change to the schedule as a train is going to be late. He has some work to go do on the platform, so he leaves a note with the kids to give to Stacy if he isn't back in time. Now, Stacy arrives, and just as Matt is about to give her the all-important note, we get a group of acrobats walking through the station, and after partaking in their act, very well rehearsed and very seamless on Stacy's part. It's almost as if she's done this before. The kids are so distracted that the note does not get passed along. Stacy, however, does notice that the schedule board has been changed, so she, believing it a mistake, changes it back, and only for a passenger to arrive and see that she has potentially missed her train, which is no good. Everyone reconvenes to talk about the incident. They discuss a way to move on with their day and make sure it doesn't happen again, all while Schemer is being no help at all and criticizing them for making the mistake. Now, throughout this episode, we also see Mr. C pop in to tell the kids some stories about a rather accident-prone engine we've seen before, named Henry. And later in the episode, Mr. C actually has an accident himself, which I think is a nice little touch. It shows that everybody can have accidents, even the adults. He falls off his roof, off his ladder, I should say, while he's fixing his roof. After that, he tells them the story of Henry having a crash. Not on the same level as just falling off a ladder, but an accident nonetheless. To cheer Stacy up, to cheer the kids up, Stacy tells Matt and Tanya a poem which she wrote for them, and the passenger even comes back only to realize that she has got her dates mixed up. She is meant to be a maid of honor in her sister's wedding, which she thought it was the current day. It is in fact the next day. So all is well. Everyone can make accidents happen, whether that be station staff, Mr. C, the kids, or the passengers themselves.
Well done.
Oh, thank you. I don't think my introduction game is as strong as yours, but I try. I really do.
I beg to differ. I think you do great. It's also, intros can be hard. I mean, I go to write them and I'm like, oh, I don't know, can I? But, or not intros, but summaries. But, you know, you've probably all seen it too. But no, it helps to flesh it out, and you gave it a lot of color. So good job.
Oh, I certainly try. What were your thoughts on this one?
So, it's interesting. I remember when I start watching them, I remember how it felt as a kid at the beginning of the episodes. So I think, you know, to the beginning of Two Old Hands, the one we just reviewed, and I think excitement, the mail, you know, coming in. This one, you know, you have Matt and Tanya building a block tower. I think it signals that the episode is a little bit more slower paced, which I found, but I still enjoy it. I love, like you said, Stacy's cartwheel. She's such a badass.
She really is.
I just love it. I mean, Dee Dee, obviously, and I know that Dee Dee worked in children's pantomime before this, and you know, did a lot of theater performing, so I'm not surprised. But she just like pulls up her pants a little bit and just does a cartwheel and then leaps on top. It's so, the kids are like, whoa. I'm like, she's cool, man. I'd want to hang out at the station if she's just like, these random people come rolling in. And I remember they used that little segment on an ad for Shining Time where they say, you never know who's going to come tumbling into Shining Time Station. On the same note, Stacy, I question your sort of like leaving Matt and Tanya in charge of the station, even though I know Harry's on the platform, but she's just like, oh yeah, see ya. And like leaving two kids in charge of, not in charge, but they're in the station and they are sort of in charge while Harry's outside. I think it's kind of inappropriate. So I sort of think that Stacy had it coming a little bit. I think they needed more staff at Shining Time Station. I know it's a bit of a different point, but it's a running theme where like they don't have enough people to watch the kids. And then like, you know, when they got Schemer to watch them, you know, that turned to all hell breaking loose. Harry's around, but I don't know. That's just a side note, I thought.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like you said, it definitely becomes it's sort of a contrast that they're okay with the kids being, you know, in the station alone in this episode. But when we get to, what is it? Promises, I believe. It's like, oh no, we can't leave them alone. They have to have an adult here. It's like, oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because Rick, in Rick's Sif interview, he talks about, you know, obviously this is a fantasy situation, but if this aired now, he's not sure how parents would feel about like their kids just hanging out at a railroad station all day. And yeah, similarly, it's like, yeah, you know, what if somebody just came along and was like, come with us, you know, and the kids just go and then they're gone. So it's, I think he sort of says that the show in the late 80s, it was done at a time where it was like the environment was a bit different. Sure. And you can sometimes feel that, but obviously we know it's a fantasy situation. It's okay. But yeah, so that's kind of a funny point. I enjoy Schemer and his meatball theme. It's a funny kind of foreshadowing for a snack bar, I think, but Schemer's such a goof in this.
Yeah,
what do you think?
And again, we get such a beautiful display of Schemer's flawless, impeccable math skills. It's just what
I know.
What does he equate the cost of one meatball to? Almost 25 cents.
He said his sandwich cost $2. Okay, so we're gonna do a little math corner here on Time to Shine.
Time to Shine. Here we go.
Yes, so his sandwich, his meatball sandwich, cost $2. Right. Which, like, good luck finding a sandwich for that price these days. But
come on,
I paid $2 for the sandwich. There were 4 meatballs in it, so that's about 75 cents. That's almost about $1 a piece. You just cost me $1.
And so he basically tries to make them feel really bad for the fact that he lost a meatball because they kind of laugh at him. But you see him being goofy, you see him getting things wrong. I always enjoy that. Then what do you think, Mike?
Yeah, you raise a good point that, you know, coming off the heels of Two Old Hands, there's definitely a lot less, well, it's less happy excitement to start this episode off. There's definitely excitement still, but it's more of a sort of a flurry of things happening all at once, and I think that actually plays into it really well. It kind of makes the audience feel, you know, a little disoriented, much like the characters are about, you know, the changes in the schedule and the passenger potentially missing their train. You know, it plays into the theme really well. I will say Schemer, of course, is entertaining as always. I really like the the passenger in this episode. Like, she just,
me too.
She's got such a, like, she's got kind of a high voice like this, and she just sounds so flustered, and like, it's just such a perfect, like they needed.
I thought the train said 11 o'clock. Like,
I know. Like, there's something about her that just screams like, oh yeah, you were a character of the day in an 80s kids TV show, of course. Like, you know.
She reminds me of somebody I've met, like an anxious person.
Yeah, she does remind me of someone, and I can't put my finger on who, but I feel like she's that sort of passenger that, you know, or the sort of person, rather, that, like, I think everybody knows a person like that, who's like a little high strung and like kind of anxious and, you know, a little flustered.
And she's talking to herself. She's like, you know, she's like, I won't get there in time to enjoy my sister's wedding, and she was depending on me. Oh no! You just hear it. I remember that as a kid, and I thought she was funny. It was funny.
I know, yeah, it's so good. And I also like the little touch that, you know, the accidents kind of keep happening throughout the episode, but it's Matt's little accident of accidentally dropping her suitcase that leads to them figuring out, oh hey, your sister's wedding isn't until tomorrow. So it goes to show that, like, accidents aren't always a bad thing. There can be, as the episode says, happy ones, you know?
And I just will say, as we're saying this, I really wish that this episode had come out later so that they could have put in the Thomas music video "Accidents Will Happen."
Oh,
because it would have been so great.
That'll get you a million views on YouTube easily.
I know. It's so. And for anyone who has not seen that music video, go watch it now. But it is catchy as heck, and yeah, it's a very playful episode, I think, and I think the rhyming has a lot to do with that. I enjoy Matt and Tanya's first attempt at rhyming when they're like, there was once a train that was quick as a flash. Oh, I can't think of anything that rides a flash. It went off its tracks and had a great crash. Oh, that's not very good.
And they both immediately just kind of like wince and recoil.
I know. And then you get, you know, Mr. C with his magic dime. And then it just sets into motion all this rhyme. So now for the rest of our podcast, we are going to talk in rhyme. No, I'm just kidding. That would be slightly intimidating.
Don't scare me like that. I haven't prepared properly.
I know. And then Schemer's inherent dislike for when he rhymes, but can't control himself rhyming.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Me, I do not like to rhyme. I think it's just a waste of time. Is that a rhyme that I just heard? Did Schemer make a play on words?
I like this.
I'll play a song to clear my head and stop this rhyming business. Dead.
I love that.
And they're like, I have to say, there's some one-liners with the kids that always crack me up. Like when Schemer's in the arcade and he's like, time is, and he points at the kids, and Tanya's like, 12:15. He's like, time is money, honey. I love the kids when they kind of like pick on Schemer. And for those who are a fan of the plastic tools from, I believe, episode 2 or 3, they have returned.
Yes. Thank gosh.
Thank gosh, because what would we do without them? Little saw and the hammer. Just to touch on the jukebox, actually, we get some nice teachings on like jukebox respect. And it being an old machine and treating it nicely. And then we get, I think, Schemer's first deep delve into his disappearing nickels problem. So we're building on the jukebox lore here, which I like as a jukebox aficionado.
Of course.
Hearing more about that, and of course, and Schemer's suspicion. There's something so funny about things happening to Schemer, but he doesn't know why. Hence, it's puppets playing tricks on him. Hence, staff in the station playing tricks on him and thinking it's haunted. It's funny seeing him distressed.
Yeah, there's something about Schemer in distress that really just, you know, there's always a guarantee that you're going to have a good moment of Brian O'Connor in these episodes. Like, he's always going to have a standout, but, you know, when you get situations like this, they just start piling up. It's like, how do I pick a moment that's his best moment in this episode? You know, he's so entertaining. He is.
And I just want to say, building on what you've already said, my friend, I'm looking at my notes, my little list of notes here, and I have one that says, I love how over the top the passenger lady's voice is, LOL. My next line being the quote, "These shoes were brand new 2 years ago." plus Schemer math. So I think Mike and I, we've got a vibe. We are on the same wavelength, but
we are in
and then
sync.
He does more math.
Oh my
we
gosh.
are in sync.
Oh,
it's gonna be me. It's real, and he does math there too, because I think he says like, these shoes were brand new 2 years ago and they cost me $20. That's $13, $14, $15 a piece. So again, he does this like wonderful thing of rounding up, which is enjoyable, just to make something seem more valuable, even though it's 2 years old. I want to use that line though. Somebody like scuffs my shoe, be like, these are brand new 2 years ago.
I should try and bust that out when I'm out in public somewhere. Someone just like steps on my foot, like, hey, these shoes were brand new 2 years ago.
Do it.
Oh,
oh man. What about you, Mike? I feel like I've been going on a bit. What are some of your thoughts?
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, I feel like we've covered the goods of the station portion. It's just, yeah, it's so fun. It's a lot of you know, silly moments mixed with more serious ones about, you know, making mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, but we also have to rectify things and make sure we don't make mistakes in the future. You know, it's a good overall moral for kids to learn. And again, I like that instead of just having the kids be the ones who have accidents or cause accidents, we're seeing it happen with everybody. We're seeing it with the passenger.
Yes.
We're seeing it with, you know, Schemer. We're seeing it with Mr. Conductor. You know, again, Shining Time just does a good job at showcasing that, you know, it's not just because the kids are the target audience. You have to show them that it can happen to anyone, regardless of age, regardless of, you know, how intelligent you may be. Everyone has the capability of having an accident or two or making a mistake somewhere down the line. I think it does a really good job of showing that.
It does. And I like to, especially just to build on that, when Stacey says, you know, they're trying to point the finger of blame, and then she's like, blaming ourselves won't help. What we have to do is fix the problem. Which I think is a great way, because I think we all have like pretty negative self-talk, especially when things go wrong, and you hear Stacey, you know, Harry saying, "Oh, I should have put the note right on the schedule board," and it's like, no, it's okay, it's done. And I think Shining Time does a good job of. We go from episode to episode where you see Shining Time as a station finding its footing, and this is another one where you see them stumbling a little bit.
100%.
They're having a bit of, you know, scheduling difficulties. They're ironing out those kinks. They're figuring out the system, sort of like when they initially got the schedule board and Stacey didn't write all the details down and then had a bit of a mistake. So I agree. It's a great way of normalizing making mistakes and that it's okay and that they're all kind of working together.
And not only making mistakes, but also taking ownership of those mistakes, because once they realize that the passenger has missed the train, you know, no one's trying to, you know, skirt around it or push responsibility onto another person. You know, Harry takes ownership for, you know, not leaving the note on the schedule board. The kids take onus for not giving Stacey the note, you know, all that stuff. It shows a lot of the, you know, the nuance of, you know, what you want to do in these situations.
And she might have missed her wedding, which would have been awful.
Yes.
I mean, you think people only get married once. She misses it's her sister, I believe.
Yes, she was the maid of honor for her sister.
Yeah, so that would have been really upsetting. And, you know, I think in the end that the passenger, I mean, does a great job of taking everything in stride,
Mm-hmm.
and she's very understanding, and not all people are like that, but she, even though a lot of things went wrong because of the way that it was handled and the way she was treated, she still said that I'm from now on I'm gonna ride the Indian Valley Railroad. So yeah, and like you said, owning your mistakes as well. They owned it. They didn't try and just fob it off and say, oh, whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that has integrity. Are you a fan of the Thomas stories here? We got Cole and the Flying Kipper.
Boy, am I ever. Anyone who knows me knows that
Just two minor stories, you know.
Yeah, two minor stories. No big deal. Nothing too exciting happens in these ones. Anyone who knows me knows that Henry is perhaps my favorite engine in the entire series. I just love his little arc, you know?
I thought your favorite engine was totally somebody else.
Wait, okay, hang on. I have to make a caveat here. My favorite...
You said Rusty. No. Who was it?
Mavis. Mavis is my favorite.
Mavis, okay. That's what I thought.
Mavis is my favorite of the Diesels, but also is like top tier. Like, okay, her and Henry are tied. It's so difficult to have just one favorite character because you're like, oh, but then this character does this, and like I really like them for what they do here.
Not making you choose.
I know. I can't.
But no, it's good to know, because I was like, yeah, Mavis. Okay, good, thanks. I'm not crazy.
Yes,
okay.
it's not an either or, it's a both and in this case. So,
okay, cool.
Yes, Mavis is...
It is a wonderful arc for Henry. It really is.
It is. I've always loved Henry's little journey through both, the books and the early TV show. It's just, I think it's a comforting thing for anyone who's going through, health struggles or difficulties in their life. It's a great little progression of facing challenges, overcoming those challenges, and then also having dips in that journey. It's not just a constant trajectory up, because if you look at these stories, I mean, up to this point we've seen Henry's been shut up in the tunnel. Well, then he gets let out and he's shown to be a little bit sickly in some of Thomas's early stories.
He had a hard time in season 1, man.
He did. He really went through the ringer. He was sickly for a little bit there, and then, of course, he was shut up in the shed because he was protesting the fact that he had to fetch his own coaches.
Right.
And now here we are again. He's been let out of the shed now, but again, we see him struggling. He can't make steam like the other engines can, so... graciously, Sir Topham Hatt brings in Welsh coal for him, which solves all his steaming problems, only for the next episode to completely throw things into disarray. The Flying Kipper, of course, is... I really feel like we don't need to give this one much of an intro. It's such a classic episode, especially within the fandom. I feel like most people rank this one as their favorite of Series 1 for sure.
And kind of like you said, if the last episode we reviewed was the Shining Time episode to show to people, this would be the Thomas episode, or one of the best Thomas episodes to show somebody.
100%. I mean, it's got everything going for it. It's got such a great story. Fish. It's got fish. This is our first episode that takes place really at primarily nighttime. We up to this point we've seen a lot of the Series 1 episodes taking place in the daytime, and you'll get the odd nighttime shot here and there when the engines go to sleep, but other than that, it really, I love the progression of the darkness of the early morning. As Henry's going along the line with his train, you're seeing the sun slowly coming up. It's getting brighter and brighter outside, and that, I feel like that contrasts really well with the snow and the winter setting. Like, it feels like a typical winter morning that we all experience when those months come around. So, yeah, and I love the flow of the score. Mike and Junior really just knocked it out of the park with this in terms of the Flying Kipper theme.
They went all out.
They really did. It's phenomenal. And then I guess this is really our first big crash that we see on screen too.
Yeah, I think so.
We've had, there's minor little incidents that happen
Aside
here
from
and
like
there.
Thomas Comes to Breakfast.
True.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going in order of season 1, but yes, we would have had Thomas Comes to Breakfast. So
Whoopsie.
yeah, oops. I gotta switch my brain here. Okay, second big crash we've seen so far. So, but yeah, this one certainly has. It's a nice contrast because whereas in Thomas Comes to Breakfast, the severity was downplayed by the station master's wife being more upset about the breakfast being ruined as opposed to her house now having a
Just look
gaping
at our
hole.
breakfast.
Now I shall have to cook some more. And never mind the gaping hole in
She
the
banged
front.
the door.
Yeah, it's just it's a very different tone in this episode, and especially compared to the original Railway series story, there was a lot of comedy in there, and I think kudos to the Reverend Audrey for using those humorous bits to kind of downplay the severity and maybe not make it as serious for the target audience at the time. But I think they did a good thing by choosing to not go the comedic route with this crash. It shows you how serious a train crash can be, and I think it really drives home the plight that Henry has kind of endured up to this point. It's just he thought he had everything all sorted out when he got the Welsh coal, and then here he goes and has an accident. And luckily, he's not down and out just yet. He does get sent to crew for his iconic rebuild and comes back better than ever. So, yeah, all ends on a happy note with this one.
Hope it's not lost.
Yeah, it's not lost at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
What did you think of these ones?
I do like that moral that you sort of say, like, you can have a problem and then find a solution and it gets a bit better and then it can get even worse.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's I think it's a really good life lesson, actually.
Ebbs and flows.
Ebbs and flows, yes. I love Henry's whole coal saga.
Mm-hmm.
I remember finding these stories captivating as a kid as well. I enjoyed Cole, and I enjoy Sir Topham Hatt's blue overalls.
Yes.
It's a great one-off there.
Rare Topham outfit change.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I think you've said it all for me. And then we also have, as the jukebox song, we have Wreck of the Old 97.
Yes.
Which is, I just want to say, I love right before the song when they come and Dee Dee is snoring on a drum set and she's like, ooh, me, 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 me. Ooh, me, 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 me. What do you think of the song?
Love it. Love it. I really,
Me too.
I mean, again, it's just, I'm hard pressed to find a jukebox song in series 1 especially that I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
I think with there's the only one that I didn't really enjoy all that much was the Jesse James one, which I think we get to that later. I think that's in Promises or Words Out.
Yeah.
But in any case, up to this point so far, all of these songs have been fantastic, and this is no exception. This is another just classic railroad song, really.
It's old 97, you must put her in a Dan Valentine. This is not 38, it's old 97, you must put her in a Dan Valentine.
It's really fun. I love Rory's performance. I love when he says, "This is not 38, it's old 97." Like, he really shouts it. It's a really fun rip-roaring song. Quick, fun, energetic, great. Best of jukebox kind of style, I think.
Absolutely.
I just, on a side note, I also enjoy Harry's segment on railroad safety in this episode, and some of the accompanying footage is quite cool. But talking about, railroad rules are written down in little books like this, and he talks about, taking your time to do a task, not rushing. I don't know. I liked it.
I believe the footage that they use, is that not from the General?
I don't know.
I think it is. It's the
Sure.
Buster
Is
Keaton
it?
movie.
Okay.
The
cool.
footage where you see the man sitting down on the side rods of the engine, and it
love
starts
that
to move,
shot.
and you see him go up and down with it. Don't try that at home, kids, but a very entertaining little piece of footage from, yes, I believe that is the General, 1926, Buster Keaton.
Oh, cool. Good one. And there's also the footage of him knocking the railroad tie off, right?
Yes.
While on the cow catcher.
Yeah. Oh, I like that one too.
That's a really cool one. I thought that was well done.
Yeah, I agree.
As a kid, I was like, oh, that's really neat.
Yeah, I like seeing him kind of splayed out on the cow catcher.
Yes,
even though it's a very
yes.
slow moving train, it just kind of feels like he's being like, pasted back by the wind.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. And in terms of trivia, we've got a teacup start to one of the Thomas stories, which I think I mentioned a little while ago. And then one thing I noticed, who is the question. Who rolls Mr. C his dime at the end of the episode?
That is a good question. Who does?
Dum dum dum. It's the ghosts.
Oh my gosh. I knew this place was haunted.
They're real. I knew it. Any trivia on your part, my friend?
You know what? I think I used up all my good trivia there with the Buster Keaton info drop of the general, but
that is a great drop.
Yeah. Now you've unlocked a new mystery for us, though. We have to determine who rolled the nickel from off screen.
Yes, it's very perplexing.
Do you think it was another Mr. Conductor who visited the station and was just helping his
family member? As they were exiting the station, one of them tripped over it and set it into motion, and it rolled towards him, and he picked it up.
Oh yeah, I like that. Look at us solving mysteries.
Or Mr. Conductor's evil twin somehow.
Oh my gosh,
there's many options.
Can you imagine if we got an evil twin of Ringo, Mr. Conductor?
I want evil Ringo. That would be so actually kind of terrifying, I think.
I think so, because you're so used to seeing
it's giving me shivers. I don't even like the idea of evil Ringo.
I know
Evil George makes sense because George is so perky, but Ringo's sort of laid back as it is.
Yeah, George makes sense because he's very animated, but Ringo is very he's got that dry wit about him. I don't know how you would make an evil version of him.
Would his be really maniacal and diabolical?
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. It's just shudder to think. On the note of kids' activities, we have a few fun ones. So we got rhyming, obviously, and that's something that anyone can do, and it's free, right? So you can look up rhyming words. You can get a rhyming dictionary if you want.
Take it from me, rhyming is free.
See what he did there?
Oh, clever.
That's unparalleled cleverness.
4 years of university, kids.
I will say too, the rhymes were well written in this episode. Kudos to the was it who wrote this episode? Do you remember?
One was
it Ellis Weiner?
No, this was Alan Kingsburg.
Alan Kingsburg. Okay, great job, because the rhymes were well written and the kids recited them well, and some of those were quite mature for kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
So good job at that. And flex your rhyming muscles, see what you come up with. And also ink blot designs, those are great. Those are fun. Those are easy. You make a mistake on paper, on a drawing. A lot of kids rip it up or scrunch it up and throw it away. Turn it into something else. And I will say, I had a little bit of OCD as a child, and I remember, not liking making mistakes. And if I did, I would try and fix it or rub it away or whatever. Turn it into something. Make it a part of your drawing.
Yeah.
Embrace those happy accidents. Making mistakes is not as a fault or something to erase or to get rid of. And just kind of weaving into the morals again, practicing, don't be too hard on yourself. If you make a mistake, mistakes can be turned into beautiful things, as I just kind of illustrated. And then Harry's lesson being sort of slow down, take your time, and you'll find that you'll avoid making mistakes that way if you do. Yeah.
I agree.
Any other thoughts?
I think you hit the nail on the head, my friend. I think those are great little morals, great little activities we've seen too. I like the ink blot because you don't see much of that in TV nowadays, or even really back then. I guess it's sort of an uncommon thing, but it's a cool little inclusion.
It is. Makes me think of the Rorschach method.
Yeah.
Which for those who are in therapy, it's a bit of a different thing, but. Yeah, it's neat because you can. I mean, obviously, people don't have ink as much at their disposal now. So being able to sort of do spill ink on a paper, squish it together, fold it in half, and then get sort of like a butterfly or a shape might be harder. But I mean, why not?
Why not?
Give it a go.
Try it yourself, as Art Attack used to say.
Oh, I loved Art Attack. Oh, you're killing me, Mike. You're killing me. This nostalgia train. It's so you make me happy.
Oh, thanks.
So ratings for this one, I kept like going back and forth between 8 and 8.5. And I think I'm going to go 8.5.
Okay.
Because this episode makes me happy. It's not on the same level as the one before. And also, sorry, just to jump back, Two Old Hands is such a great title.
Yes.
I didn't get it as a kid, but it's such a beautiful, I guess they mean two old like railroad hands. I love it. Happy Accidents, great episode, good morals, fun activities, good acting, good pace, great stories. It's not like my favorite, but it's pretty solid. So yeah, I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Very solid.
Truth be told, I was going to wait and hear what Mike gave, and then I was going to modify it accordingly. But since I greedily went now I can't do that. So what do you give it, Mike?
True colors have been revealed. I am going to go just ever so slightly lower. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
I knew I should have given it an 8.
No, you know what? I'm saying that.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to modify. I'm going to give mine an 8.25 since I'm so torn.
Oh my
there
gosh.
we go. That's it, folks. Thank
he's
you.
going even higher. Yeah, no, I'm going to say...
No, it was 8.5. I'm going lower.
Oh, that's right. You're going middle ground. Yeah, okay.
Middle ground.
Well, you know what?
Sorry, my headphones.
I'm gonna go middle ground too. I'll meet you halfway. I'll go 7.75 on this one.
Oh shucks. It sucks.
There we go.
And why the 7.75?
Well, it's I like this episode a lot. I think it's not a standout for me per se, but it's still an enjoyable episode to watch. Again, I really like, the one-off passenger. I think she's a kooky little inclusion and really helps drive the point home.
She's fun. Good job, one-off passenger.
Yes, well done to you. We should get a name. Hang on, I need to find a name.
Yes, okay.
My thirst for knowledge is bugging me. I needed a name on this one.
That's so funny because her voice was really fun.
Susan Greenhill is the name of the actress who played the passenger. So well done, Susan. You did a phenomenal job.
Good job, Susan.
Well done. Yeah, I like that part of it. I like that, again, accidents are shown not in an entirely negative light. There can be good accidents and bad accidents. And it's important just to, no matter what happens, just take ownership. It's not a big deal. Things can always be fixed in the end. Of course, phenomenal choice in Thomas episodes with the two Henry-centric episodes. Yes. Great music from the Jukebox Band, once again. Again, hard-pressed to find a jukebox song from Series 1 that I don't like, so this is just continuing that trend. So I give it that, but, it's just, you come off of Two Old Hands and you go to this one, and it's definitely a bit of a step back in terms of... the joyous excitement of that last one. There's still excitement here, but I would say it's just, it's not as memorable for me. So nonetheless, great episode.
Well said. And I like what you said too about taking ownership for your mistakes, because I think as a kid, I was hesitant to do that sometimes because I was worried about getting in trouble or I was really hard on myself. But, being truthful, it's always helpful for those around you. So just a reminder of that. For all our listeners and for ourselves as well. Also, I enjoy when the passenger picks up the dime and he says, hey, it's my dime, lady, Schemer says. And she throws it at him.
Yes.
And he drops it and then pours it up. I really, because she's like so sweet to them, and then he's so rude to her, and so she just tosses it at him, and then he pours his soda all over his shoes, his 2-year-old shoes. So I enjoy that they're taking the piss out of Schemer there a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
Hi, I'm Ken Bianco Jr. from Train World, where we have the greatest selection of model trains and train sets. We also are proud to carry Bachman's full line of Thomas & Friends products. With a large variety of different brands and scales, we have the best items for your model train collection. You can find Train World on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram, where you can see our latest products and even be invited to all our events like Thomas Tuesdays. Visit trainworld.com today to find your next addition to your model railroad journey.
Yeah, so I think that's it for today. We had some good ones and we had lots to say on them. But yeah, I think they warranted it. And it's certainly fun going down this road with you, my friend. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for listening. We love your continued support, and we hope that we are bringing you some good entertainment and a bit of a bright spot in your day.
Absolutely. And as we always say, we encourage, thoughts, feedback. I don't know if there's a way. I know there is I noticed on one of our podcast platforms, you can, like, they ask a question and you can give feedback. So do so. Please give your feedback. We don't hear from people very often, but I know there are people listening. So reach out, give us your feedback, let us know what you think. You can give us ideas. We're always open to making this a more enjoyable listening experience for you. And also, I'd like to take a little time to just quickly thank our team behind the scenes. We have Fred, who is our amazing editor. He works so hard on every episode to cut all those little episode moments and songs in. And we're so grateful for all the hard work that you do, Fred. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, of course. Thank you, dearly, Fred.
And we couldn't do it without you, my friend. And also Tom Denham, who created this podcast, basically the spinoff for us, and who is always supporting us behind the scenes and uploading and working hard as well. So thank you, Tom. And we hope to have you on at some point, because we know that you're a Shining Time fan, and we would love to hear your thoughts on some of this world. So we will get you on eventually.
Yes. I think we should probably get Tom and Fred on here one time and just have a big old time to shine party.
That'd be a hoot.
We're converting Fred. He's starting to watch the series himself. So
he absolutely is, and he's really enjoying the music. Actually, he said he was really into "Don't Be Afraid."
Yeah,
recently,
he also,
and I was like, "Yeah, it's the 80s."
Yeah, he also told me that he really identifies with Schemer as a character and as a person. So no, I'm just kidding. He didn't say that.
You better watch yourself there, Mike.
Lies.
But yes, as Adrian said, please, big shout out to our crew behind the scenes. Big shout out to the Right on Tracks gang as well. Right on Tracks and all their affiliated spin-off shows are well worth your time. So please have a listen. Tom and the gang put so much work into everything they do, and it's just always a joy to listen to. So I implore you, if you need a little something else to listen to after you've wrapped up with our current episode of Time to Shine, check out the many works of Right on Tracks.
Please do. Check them out. You will not be sorry. And we will be back next time for more reviewing, more crazy antics, more giggles and laughs and whistles and sneezes. Next.
And no rhyming.
No rhyming. I promise not to rhyme. Okay, so I was just going to do it again, but I stopped myself.
I could tell you were calculating. You're like, what can I rhyme?
I was like, yeah, I know. What can I... So next time we will be tackling 2 more episodes, Ring in the Old, episode 11, and episode 12, Impractical Jokes. Lots more to unpack there. The last 2 episodes that Matthew Diamond directed.
Yes,
interestingly.
Crazy.
So we might notice like a slight shift as the direction changes in episode 13, but just something interesting to see. We get to meet a new character as well. I'll just say he's square. All right, everybody. Well, I have been Adrian.
And I have been Mike.
And this has been Time to Shine. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you very soon, just in time. That was almost a rhyme, but I don't think it was.
End this podcast really quick. We're starting to make everybody sick.
No! Oh dear. Okay, we are really saying goodbye now. Goodbye. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.